Thank you so much for joining us for the March segment of the Blue Seat. We are doing a little unique special segment because, as you can see, our seat is not blue. We're doing a JMI version of the Blue Seat with our very special guest, Mike Campbell. Mike is the director of the North Florida operations at Jim Moran Institute for Global Entrepreneurship in Tallahassee, Florida. Welcome to the Blue Seat, Mike.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So before we actually jump into our subject matter, which this month's subject is how to advance your organization using the lean organization model. Before we jump into that subject, tell us a little bit more about the mission of JMI.
So the Jim Moran Institute was created 25 years ago this April. We're celebrating our 25th. And Jim Moran and Jim Moran created it because they wanted help existing businesses and nonprofit organizations get better in their organization and be more efficient and think differently.
Thank you. And what are some of the programs that you offer?
So our core programs from with the Jim Moran Institute is the Small Business Executive Program, where we bring in business owners and we bring them in. By the way, we are in Tallahassee, Jacksonville, Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, and Tampa. And so we all have the same core programs, we just do them a little differently. It depends on the market and the clients. But our core program is a Small Business Executive Program. We have a Nonprofit Executive Program where we help nonprofits specifically on their organization, specific to them. And then we do CEO peer-to-peer groups where we bring in CEOs once a month in a confidential setting where they can help each other solve issues. We also have a boot camp for veterans and families where we bring in veterans on a program just for them. We do a conference in Orlando, and we also have coming up the Seminole 100 where we recognize the top 100 FSU graduates in business.
Nice. Well, I know that you are all over the state and making a tremendous impact globally as well too. So we're talking about the lean organization model and doing some research on the subject matter beyond just the experience with Jim Moran Institute. Is a lean organization structure is a structure that is designed to create more customer value using fewer resources than a traditional organization structure. It's focused on the value stream the organization uses to deliver goods and services to their customers. And we were discussing earlier comparing the business model versus a nonprofit model. But how is the model valuable to nonprofits when you look at the work that you're doing?
So what we do here in Tallahassee is we go into the nonprofit and work with them on a 2-3 hour session with their leadership team. And what it is that by working with the model, it's not so much building paper and filling out forms. It's more of a thought process. If you can get your executive team and staff thinking, what is our value proposition and to who? And with nonprofits, there's really two segments. The lean organization model has on top programs or the beneficiary of services. And then on the bottom of it is a similar model, but it's for the customer. And that's the person who's paying, who's writing the check, right? The beneficiary of the services may not always be your customer because they may not be paying. But the value proposition for both would be the same.
And I always found it very interesting as I am trying to learn this model and constantly go back and study it, that sometimes nonprofits have a difficult time looking at maybe donors as a customer.
Right.
And I think that was something that we discussed in Impact Plus. So can you address that in terms of donors are actually paying to support the organization, and how are we defining all of that?
So I'll give you the best example I got, and that's Jim Moran. Jim Moran funds us to do the work we do, and we don't charge our beneficiary of services to come in and do it. And so we can go out to the nonprofit at no cost to them because Ms. Moran's already paying for it. So the return that we can provide the nonprofit and the organization is really a return on her money. So when she's writing that check, She knows we are out there doing the best we can to get a big return on her funds, and it benefits others.
Thank you. And what does the organization need to implement a lean organization model?
So when I go in, I meet with the executive director first. Really, it's an open mind. If we go in and they have an open mind, and their staff, it may be used to doing something the same way over and over. If we're very good at getting everybody on the same page. So as long as they have an open mind to listen to it, to work it, and to understand it, then we can help them.
And how does the board fit into that model?
So we have a lot of situations where I have a CEO come to me and say, my board, they have their way of doing things, but really a board is for governance. This lean organization structure is really operational, and it makes the organization think differently and be more efficient in what they do from an operational standpoint. But when it comes to, who we should go after, and who we should we change any programs? Well, then the board's involved because they need to make sure that's fitting the mission. And so their participation is very important when we can get it.
Fantastic. Can you provide us some examples of different organizations, whether it's a nonprofit or business, that are really great examples of utilizing the lean organization model?
So on the nonprofit side, I'll give you one. We went into an association who was struggling to get members, and one of the things that we ended up running through the model was all their programs. And what they found was what the board thought advocacy was their number one topic that their members wanted, really was not what the members were willing to pay for. And so by using the model, they were able to shift their services and products that they offer to clients to bring more value to them. They still do the advocacy, but it's just not the number one now, and so more people are seeing the value.
Thank you so much, Mike. Well, I know a number of people have seen your face in the community. Jim Moran Institute obviously has a great name recognition involved with it, great credibility. So let's tell us a little bit more about Mike Campbell, the man.
That's a short story.
Not at all, not at all. Great sense of humor, and so I've got a couple of run-through questions. So what's a professional pet peeve that you have?
In the business world, I guess my biggest pet peeve is people that think they know everything versus the fact that nobody knows everything. And you always are learning, even at my old age.
Right. Well, with that being said, who would you want to meet in this lifetime?
Oh, no question, Jim Moran. Unfortunately, he passed away in '07. I never got the privilege. I tell people that Jim Moran funding us is a curse and a blessing. It's a blessing that we are funded for so long, but think about it, we're having to carry a legacy of a man who built a $13 billion company from scratch. That's a big shoes to fill. So I would love to sit down with Jim and make sure we're doing it the way you want. She says we are, but I would love to pick his brain.
That's awesome. Mike, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and thanks for coming to the building.
Sure.